This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. It's so exciting because next week is Gencon. So earlier this week I produced a video that was the best games that I've played that are releasing at Gencon. If you haven't seen that, you can click the link in the description below here and go see that, because those are games that are tried and true that I've already played that will be for sale. I've double checked and will be at Gencon, and check those out because those are ones that are just, I already know are good. That's like the most solid list. Now this is the list that of the most anticipated. These are ones I'm most looking forward to, and every year some of these end up maybe even becoming my game of the year. Some of them I end up being, you know, I just don't like them. They don't turn out the way I want. So you never know with this list because it's always just looking forward and being hopeful, but here we go.
Number 10.
All right, the first one is Tesla versus Edison Duel. This is a two-player standalone game in the Tesla versus Edison world from Artana Games. And so they originally had come out with Tesla versus Edison. It was a pretty big, beefy Euro game that was a long game, probably 2+ hours. It was a game with a lot of moving parts and the stock market. It was very interesting, and I love the theme of going to the history. I love historical themes, so I'm really interested in this. So this is a standalone two-player game. It only takes about 30 minutes or less to play, and it's designed by Dirk Niemeyer, but he also brought in J.R. Honeycutt. And JR has just been on a roll lately. Everything he touches seems to be really good, so even more interesting that he's involved in this. Now in this game, it's a duel, two players. You're trying to control two of the three regions. There's two cities and there's out west, and you're trying to basically control two of the three of them at the end of the game. Now you're going to be trying to get stocks, much like the original game, different stocks of different companies, and you're trying to get those by leading in technologies for those certain stocks. Those get you points to help you control them, but they can be sold to take extra actions from what I've read in the rules. And so it just seems like an interesting tactical game that has stock, has a little bit of really interesting theme. Also, it's not just Tesla versus Edison, even though that's the title. There's actually 8 different inventors in the game that you can be, and each of them have a unique win condition. So every time you play the game, you're going to be having a different strategy, and I think that's really cool. So overall, love the historical aspect, love that they brought in JR, love the theme, and I really always like two-player games that are 30 minutes or less. I've got a ton of those, but I still love them. They're just close to my heart because I love to just break them out 2 players and play them quickly. So that is Tesla versus Edison Duel.
Number 9.
The next one is King's Life from Panda Games. Now this game is for 4 to 8 players and says plays in about 30 minutes. Now this is a re-implementation of an older game that came out in 2010 called Smiley Face. It's designed by Bruno Faidutti. He's sort of the master of these games that take about 30 minutes that are not party games. You wouldn't want to bring these to like just any old party, but they're not strategy games either. They're sort of in the middle where it's a party-like game-ish, but has some strategy to it. Think of like Citadels, think of like Masquerade, things like that. He's really been the king of these types of games, and this falls in that channel there. And the way this has been described to me is this is like a 30-minute version of, say, something like Cosmic Encounter, where you're going to be forming alliances, trying to get things done, working with other people, playing cards that do certain things. And I love that aspect of getting on people, negotiating, kind of like messing with people, getting on players' teams, throwing each other over, stuff like that. So that's why it's really interesting to me, because I love that style of game, and to do it with this many players in that little time is really interesting. Also, as you've been able to see during this video, the artwork in this game is really stellar. I love the style of this, where it's kind of cartoony, but it still looks realistic at the same time. Because in this game, you're going to be trying to do different things with the king, going to the joust, basically helping them have fun. And it's an interesting twist. I like the historical theme. And you know, the art, the whole package makes me want to check this one out, especially because it's Bruno Faidutti. I tend to like his zany style designs, and to add the negotiation aspect into it really is thumbs up for me that I'm looking forward to, and that's King's Life from Pandasaurus.
Number 8.
The next one for me is called Go Nuts for Donuts. This is from Game Right. It was a Kickstarter originally from a smaller publisher, And after it funded, the Game Right came over and got it and picked it up. And so they're going to be having this for sale at Gencon. It's for 2 to 6 players. It's 20 to 30 minutes. This looks like an absolutely adorable set collection game, which has some simultaneous actions and some special abilities. Think sort of Sushi Go-ish with the cute artwork, very approachable food, set collection, but it works differently. It's not a drafting game. Essentially, there's going to be a lineup of donuts. And each of those donuts do different things. Some of them are just straight up points. Some of them are points if you get a bunch of the same kinds. Some of them allow you to do special abilities like swap things and change things and just do different things. And so there's going to be a lineup of these donuts, and everyone has a selection card as to which one in the line they want. I might want the second donut. This person might want the second donut. They all flip after you've chosen. And if more than one player has chosen the same donut, they get nothing. If you're the only player to select the donut, you get it. So it's this interesting thing is as people are collecting sets, you're looking at what they might want to go for. You're trying to guess what they might want to go for. You might want to either stop them, but it's hurting you, or go for something else. That mechanism reminded me of a game that I reviewed a couple years ago called Crossing. It's a little known game that came out through Asmodee, but it was very fun like this, where you're trying to guess. It was a lot of fun, set collection. There were no special abilities. It was very simple. The theme was a little weird where you're jumping over mushrooms, but this seems to grab that idea and wrap around it just awesome artwork, fun theme, and some special abilities. So that's why I'm hoping it's like, it almost replaces Crossing for me, because it's such a really interesting thing. So, you know, yeah, so some of them score points, some of them are special abilities, and I think it's gonna really be in that cute little 20 to 30 minute Sushi Go aspect of a game. And I'm always playing and being around people that don't play a lot of games, so I love to introduce them to cute things, and everyone loves donuts, right?
Number 7.
The next one is Shark Island from Upper Deck Entertainment. This is for 2 to 5 players, plays in about, says 45 minutes. Now this is one of those one versus many games. One player is going to be the shark, and they're going to be trying to hide and have the hunters follow the wrong paths by looking at fake fins that the shark will be putting down. And the shark is trying to terrorize the people, and the hunters are trying to figure out where they are, where the shark is, and trying to basically have combat with the shark and defeat it. Interesting things that I've read through the rules a little bit. It seems like the shark is going to have 4 different victory conditions, or they're going to have 1 victory condition, but there's 4 different ones. So every game, one of the 4 things that the shark might be trying to get. And so yeah, that shark is trying to hide, throw the people off, all trying to terrorize everybody. Now, if the shark is found, a combat ensues, and it looks like how combat is done is with sort of an interesting sort of blackjack-like card mechanism, where people are going to be dealt cards, one face up, one face down, and the cards are going to allow them to do certain things, but there's also going to be numbers on them, and they can either get another card or pass. And here's the thing, instead of blackjack being at the number 21, in this game it's 23. If they go over 23, they have to pass and get rid of things. But if the closest to 23, they get to kind of do certain things to help with the combat of the shark. So I thought that was an interesting thing. Like, the cards have these abilities, plus you're trying to get the ones that have the numbers that add up as close to 23 as possible without busting. So it seemed kind of an interesting little mechanism, which I hope is good, because usually combat in games are things that I don't typically like, but this one has an interesting twist to it, something that I love seeing mainstream mechanisms being brought in to use in modern gaming and wrapping other things around it. I think that's going to be an easier way to get people in. Plus the theme's awesome. Come on, a shark terrorizing everybody. I've seen and heard that they're going to be, their whole booth is going to be decked out as Shark Island. So this looks really cool. Also, all the hunters, every game you play a different one, and they have different special abilities. So it seems really cool. I'm really hoping this thing is as good as I'm hoping it is. I'm a little worried that it might fall in the path of like the last Friday, which was like last year I think was my number 1 or number 2 most anticipated game, and it ended up falling flat for me. I hope this one lives up to what I hope it can do, and that's Shark Island by Upper Deck.
Number 6.
The next one is actually an expansion, because in these anticipated lists, I'd like to have some things that I'm pretty sure that I'm going to like, and typically I like expansions for games that I already do really like. This is called Splendor, Cities of Splendor, and this one basically has 4 modules. You can add or subtract any of the ones that you want. The first one is cities. Essentially, it replaces the noble tiles. You'll take the noble tiles out, and they're just harder things to get. They're bigger cities. Like, for example, you might need 2 cards of each of the 5 gems, but it's worth 13 points. So, it kind of steps up the difficulty of what used to be the noble tiles. Another one is called Trading Posts. And this allows you to move through a board and get different, sometimes it says some new types of gems. It also says, or some special abilities, which will be really cool. So, and that one looked like you go through a different, like a little board there. I'm not sure how that works, but it looked pretty cool. The third one is called Orient development cards. And they sit alongside the normal cards that sort of flip out. But they allow you to use different special abilities, like copying the gem bonus of another card, or reserving a noble tile. So it sounds like there's going to be a bunch of other development cards out there that allow you to kind of break the rules of the game, do some new things, and it sounds like there's some new gems coming, so that sounds really cool. And the fourth one is called Strongholds. It's like these big plastic pieces that are like towers, and you get to basically reserve a development card, even some of the newer ones that are coming out, like those Orient ones it sounds like. But you can also, instead of placing them on something, you can remove strongholds from others. So people are trying to reserve things and you can spend your turn to remove them. So some more ways of bringing interaction and meanness to the game, which is always a good thing in my book. I like that aspect of play in games. So I like it. It seems really interesting because, again, it's a game I love. Even if only 2 of the modules are great, even if only one of them really changes the way you play the game, it's going to be worth it. But I have a feeling all 4 of these are going to be fun, and I've always wanted Splendor. I mean, I love it to death. It's very pure. You can introduce it to anybody. I've gotten a lot of people into gaming through that game, but I've always wanted to step it up a notch, and so I'm glad to see this coming out. And that is Cities of Splendor, the expansion for Splendor, coming through Asmodee. It'll be at the Asmodee North America booth.
Number 5.
The next one is called Crossfire, and this is from Plaid Hat Games. It is a 5 to 10 player social deduction game and plays in 5 to 10 minutes, it says. And it's designed by Emerson Matsuuchi. Wow, this guy is on a roll. I think he's one of the absolute rising stars of the design world and board gaming. He started out with a little known game called Tricks or Treats, which you definitely should check out. It's actually a fun little card game that not a lot of people know about. And then, of course, he came out with Spectre Ops and recently Century Spice Road. This guy's on a roll. And this has been in development for a couple of years. I can remember, I think 2 years ago, BGGCon, him with Plaid Hat Games and Rooms testing this thing out. And so this is actually in the Spectre Ops universe. So the art style and stuff is going to feel like that. So if you like that look, you like that style, this is on top of that as well. Now there's 2 different ways to play the game, which I thought was interesting. There's a Crossfire mode and a Sniper mode. And in Crossfire mode, there's assassins, and they're trying to assassinate the VIP of the blue team. There's a red team and a blue team. The assassin's on the red team, and there's other players other than the assassins on the red team. Just the assassins are trying to assassinate the VIP of the blue team. And so the way this works is interesting, is you'll get roll cards, and you'll end up seeing the roll card to the player to your left, and then some people will be getting the 2 cards next to them and shuffling them and dealing them back out. So your card's going to move around a little bit at the beginning, so you'll have some idea of who's around you, which will make it very interesting because you have some concrete information at the beginning of the game. Now in the sniper mode, that sniper is trying to assassinate all the assassins. So it's just a different way to play where there's assassins and the sniper's trying to figure out who they are and kill the assassins. There's also a lot of extra rolls with special abilities after looking at the rulebook. So this, again, Emerson's touching it, Plaid Hat's touching it. I'm already interested. Spectre Ops universe, check. Social deduction, check. 2 different ways to play, check. I mean, this is checking all the boxes. I'm just hoping this thing lives up to the hype, and from what I've heard, really good things about this. So really looking forward to Crossfire from Plaid Hat Games.
Number 4.
All right, this next one, I'm gonna apologize, but I wanna put it on this list because you need to be aware that something is coming. There's a game that I cannot talk about because it is not announced yet. However, I will have played this by the time Gencon comes, and I will have a video when the game is announced up live just before Gencon. Now, I can't tell you anything about it, unfortunately. All I can tell you is it's from a well-known publisher. It's unannounced, and I think in Gencon this year, we've been hearing a lot of buzz of there's no game that everyone's going to be rushing to, and there's no big, huge release like a Seafall or something like that, or Pandemic Legacy, and I agree there's probably no huge game like that. However, when this is announced, when people line up for crazy Gen Con mass hysteria on Thursday morning and the VIGers get in there an hour early and the doors open and you've seen videos of like 60,000 people rushing through the doors and running for stuff. Again, I don't think there's any one game that everyone's going to be going to, but I have a feeling, I have a very strong feeling that when the doors open up on Thursday, this game is going to be on the top of many people's lists to go run and get. I'm sorry I can't give you more information, but what I can tell you is I think it's going to be one of the bigger releases at Gen Con. And I will have a video up right when it's announced just before Gen Con. So all I can tell you is be excited and subscribe to the channel here, because if you want to see what's going on right before Gen Con, subscribe and you'll see it probably a day or so before Gen Con. So I don't know when it's happening yet, but I know it's going to be pretty close to when Gen Con starts. So keep your eyes open and subscribe here. I think people are really going to be excited about this one.
Number 3.
All right, again, I'm going back to the basics here, because the higher I go in this list, the more sure I want to really be after being burnt a few years of being really excited about something and then being let down. So I'm going with what I think is going to be a sure thing for me here. And the next one here is Ticket to Ride Germany. This is from Days of Wonder. This is a new standalone game, so it's not an expansion. You can just buy it on its own if you don't have any Ticket to Ride. And essentially, there was Ticket to Ride, sort of a German version of this in Germany. There was also an expansion which added some passengers and such that you could get collection sets. So they kind of took both of those and put them together. Now, it's also a slightly re-implementation of the mechanic you saw in Markland, which was, you would set up all these tokens in descending orders, and it was a pain in the butt, and people would spill them. And there was these passengers, and there were also passenger cards that you could grab and then move your passenger through other people's routes and get the top passenger there for points. I always thought it was a good idea, but I thought it was a little fiddly. It was a pain in the butt to set up. And then I didn't like the aspect that you could move through people's routes. I still don't like the Europe version that much with the stations. I just feel like if you're blocked, you're blocked. You should never be able to use somebody else's routes. It allowed you to do that. So I know that a lot of people loved Markland, but when I played it, I didn't think it was that great. So I love that they took that passenger idea and they've baked it into this new version of Ticket to Ride Germany. So in addition, this version is going to have both long and short tickets. You're going to get a few of each. Or be able to choose from each at the beginning of the game, and I like that, so you can kind of go with one or two different strategies, because there is a Globetrotter bonus for most tickets, so you might want to just concentrate on short runs if you want. There's going to be random colored passenger meeples that are going to be placed out in different spots. The bigger cities are going to have more of them. The little cities are going to have maybe one. So it's going to change how you play things. These passengers, when you play down and claim a route, you get to take one passenger from each side of that route, assuming there's one available. What you're trying to do is collect sets, because if you have the most of any color at the end, you're going to get 20 points. And then 10 for second place. So you're going to be trying to collect sets. So this is interesting, because when you claim routes, you might be claiming routes that might telegraph where you're going, but you want to get there for the passengers for the end game set collection. And I really like that aspect. It gives you one more thing to think about. It's not brain burnery, but you can look around, see what people are collecting, trying to get the ones to capture those 20 points, and you might get blocked, or you might have to move around because people are seeing where you're going now. And I like that aspect of sort of forcing people. Plus, it also sort of forces you to go to the bigger cities early to try to get the ones, because there's more of them there. So there's more choices. So I think this is going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to this. That's Ticket to Ride Germany, Days of Wonder. So it will be at the Asmodee North America booth.
Number 2.
All right, another sure thing for me, most likely. This is another expansion. This is the expansion for 5 tribes called Whims of Sultan. Lots of different things here that's going to be in this expansion. Number 1 is you can now play it with 5 players. And it's not just, hey, here's some components, play with 5 players. They actually redesigned the bid track. So now when you're bidding, there's more multiple places that if you bid a certain amount, like 3 or 5, and the next person bids 3 or 5, you get pushed up, similar to how you got pushed up when you bid 0 in the base game. So I think that they've redesigned that I'm hoping that 5 players works well here. There's 6 new tiles. There's 5 of them are fabulous cities. 1 of them is Great Lakes. And you can play this with or without the first major expansion, the Artisans of Mccallum. Now, the base game was a 6x5 grid. This is going to be a 6x6 grid. So if you're adding that 5th player, at least there's more tiles to help the game possibly be about the same length, same amount of turns, hopefully. So yeah, this is different things. Now, those Great Lakes, they're similar to like the chasm in the Artisans, where no meeples can get there. You can't drop them there. And any one that's orthogonally adjacent to that, a palm tree is worth twice as many points. So there's one little difference in the game. Also, there's these fabulous city tiles. And this is huge. They get shuffled in. I think you're not sure how many are going to be there, but they're huge points if you have your camel on them or own them at the end of the game. You're going to get anywhere between 5 and 125 points for having 1 to all 5 of them in your control. So these are huge. People are gonna be fighting over these like crazy. But not only that, but there's these Whims of Sultan cards on these cities. And when you go there and you drop them off, you're able to get these cards that allow you to do really interesting things. They basically give you little goals. Like, hey, they allow you to, if you have owned maybe 3 in a horizontal line, you get a certain bonus. If you kill a certain style meeple, you'll get a different bonus. So there's all these different sort of special contracts that you're trying to fulfill when you get these cards. So not only are you going to be going there to try to finish that and get there, but you're also going to be trying to get these cards and do these really cool things. And I think it's really going to, and when you look at the special abilities, if you look through the rules, the different special abilities, this really is going to open this game up for strategies. It's going to change everyone's game so that your strategy is going to be completely different. And this is one of my favorite games of all time. And to add this new layer, I'm really looking forward to this. And that is 5 Tribes, Whims of Sultan.
Number 1.
All right, here we go. My number 1 most anticipated game for Gencon is called Ex Libris. This is from Renegade Game Studios. It's for 1 to 4 players, and it takes about an hour. Now, Ex Libris itself, obviously, is derived from Latin words. It's basically the spine of a book, and it's basically the thing that goes on there that tells you who that book belongs to. Cool thing. You're basically going to be curating a library of books. You're going to be trying to put them in order, and I love this theme. The art looks awesome, and it's a worker placement game, which I tend to really love worker placement games. But it's also very puzzly, and I love puzzly style games too. You're gonna be placing assistants onto location tiles. These different tiles are different each game. They come out as the game goes on, more of them come out. So your options are gonna change each game as to the order that they're available. So each game's gonna probably feel very different. You're trying to put these books in numerical and numbered order. So from top to left, like A, B's, and C's, for example, and even within each letter, there's multiple books. I might say 3 of 8. And so if you have multiples of the same letters, you gotta make sure that they're in number order. So it's letters and numbers of order. You're also trying to make sure that, and once you place a book, you can only place them orthogonally. You're trying to put them in different columns and trying to make sure they're large enough for different bonuses. You're trying to get the most books of a certain type. You have a secret goal. And so certain types of books you're going to want to get more of. There's different points for having, different columns of books. So you're trying to line them up. The most ones that you have the full columns for, the biggest sort of rectangle from top to bottom, you'll get points for that. There's one type of book that's different every game that is called Prominent Works, and whoever has the most of those is going to get a huge bonus. But you can't just disregard everything, because there's a variety bonus where you'll get certain points for the least amount of books that you have in some of the other ones. There's also, that secret category of books that nobody else knows of. There's different locations that come out each round, and so it just sounds like it has everything that I love, with public goals, private goals, puzzliness, worker placement, really cool theme, and different things to think about. And for me, I've read through the entire rulebook, and it just seems really, really interesting, the way that everything is going to work together. So I'm super excited, because this really checks every box for me. It's not too long. The art looks great. Worker placement, puzzly. It just looks really fun, and I'm super excited about this, because Renegade has been knocking everything out of the park, or almost everything. And I have a feeling this is going to be a huge hit for them. Looking at the rules, this looks like a very solid game. You never know till you play it, but that's why this one's number 1. It looks fantastic. That's from Renegade Game Studios. All right, I hope you enjoyed my top 10 anticipated games for Gen Con. It's coming up soon, about a week from now. So if you see me around, say hi. Make sure you stop and say hi. I'd love to meet people that like the show, and we'll see you next time.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.